Welcome to the Standing in This Place podcast. I'm Rachel Carter and I'm the artist behind this project, supported by National Lottery Project grants through Arts Council England. For this episode of the podcast, we're going to interview a wonderful lady called Veronica Barnes. She's the founder of the Blue Mountain Women Group, initially set up to support women of African, Caribbean and African backgrounds at the time of their menopause. They've been instrumental on a new Black History collection with the Nottinghamshire Archives, and she volunteers a lot of her time to educate and championing projects around race and social justice. She's also a founder member of the Nottingham-based Slave Trade Legacies Heritage Project with Bright Ideas Nottingham. So let's find out more about Veronica. Welcome to the podcast, Veronica.
Thank you.
So, Veronica, you've been part of the Standing in This Place project, taking part in lots of different things, but I wanted to find out a bit more about Veronica because I hear that you've been involved in such a lot of different things with the community. So let's start by, can you tell me a little bit about the Blue Mountain Women Group?
Well, you brought up a topic when you came in about the menopause, because I had a very, I wouldn't say bad journey, but it wasn't a good one either. You know what I mean? I don't know what you call it. I just know that it wasn't a nice journey. I'm glad I had it because I could tell. That's how I formed the Blue Mountain Women, because I could tell other women. I went to, is it Eastwood? Nottingham Community Foundation, I think it's called. They hand out grants, but I didn't go there for that. I was working with a young black girl in one of the schools in Mansfield, and they say that she was like a terror in the school. So then this guy asked me if I'd like to work with her, but I didn't see him I prepared myself for it, and then I didn't see him for a while. I didn't hear anything from him. So I just assumed that he had found somebody else, and I just got on with just being me in the community with what I want to do, yeah. I was walking on the street going to church one evening, and then he was following me like a curb crawler, and I said, if he ever come in front of me, I shall give him what for. And he did come in front of me, and I burst out laughing because I said to him, I was just going to give you such a mouthful and tell you to go home to your family and stop being a dirty old man. But he started to laugh. He said, trust you, Veronica. I said, well, why didn't you just drive in front of me and stop instead of crawling behind me? I said, it's really intimidating, really, because you don't know who and what a person crawling behind you have in mind. But I said I was ready for you, whatever you were. And so we started laughing. He said, I've called you several times and can't get you on the phone. Been to your house a number of times and I can't find you. Never been at home. I said, yes, so. And so he said, I still would like you to work with that young girl in Mansfield. I said, you would. I said, I really given up on it because I think you weren't going to be interested. Maybe you find another young person to do it. He said, no, I don't think a young person would be good enough for that girl. So then we chat about, terms, conditions, what need to be done, so forth and so forth. And so off I trotted off to Mansfield. And then I had to wait for him because he works in the office there. And while I was waiting, this lady came in, asked me if I wanted a cup of tea, was I waiting for somebody, did I need anything, and I said, no, I'm waiting for a colleague, because he's not finished working, but I've done my work, and I've just come to wait for him. So she said, we chatted about all kind of little rubbishy stuff, to make conversation. And then she said to me, what do you do? And I said, well, I do little bits of community work, but I don't think nothing to write home about. And she said, if I could give you £2,000, what would you do with it? I said, I would use it to tell women about the menopause. Oh. She said, oh, that's a brilliant idea.
So it sounds like, you know, with the founding of the Blue Mountain Women's Group, you know, that you're very good at pulling people together and sort of getting out there into the community. And I want to talk and ask you about another group that you've been involved with, and that's the Legacy Makers, the Slave Trade Legacies family. So I understand that you're one of the founding members. So can you tell us a bit about, you know, what is the Legacy Makers and how did it start off? Where's the beginnings?
Well, I was in another meeting and I can't remember what it was, but I was somewhere in the city in a meeting and I got a call from a niece, Marsha. She said, Auntie, you need to get down here quick. I said, why, what's happening? But the way she put it, like something just, you know, I said, what's happening? She said, never mind what's happening, come quick, Auntie, this is where you need to be. I said, but I'm in a meeting. She said, never mind about that, scratch that one and come down here. So I grabbed my few bits together, say my goodbyes, and then trotted off down to the Contemporary. Then I got in there, then they had like these groups, and then I was thrust into one group, and we were talking about black people living in communities, all white communities, or going into all white communities. And then I was laughing. I said, if they have their boombox, which is the big thing on their shoulders, marching through like a quiet town, everybody would come out to look to see what was happening. And so, like, I got like a standing ovation because, like, I was just doing it as a joke. But, like, the way out, the place was just quiet as I was talking about it. Then they started talking about, you know, would we like to join? Or, to be honest, I can't tell you how I come to join. All I know is I was up for the next meeting that they had. So I started going to the Legacy meeting. But I was one of the first persons that were in the Legacy group. Trade Legacies was what it was called.
Yeah.
And Lisa and Helen, they just started. I think they neither knew where they were going, except Helen was doing a postgraduate degree in history. And I think she kind of roped Lisa into it. That's my thinking, I'm not saying. And I just keep drawn to Helen because she was doing the history. It was based in Jamaica. I was from Jamaica, although it was in St. Mary, which is up this side of the land, the island, and I come from the lower side of the island. But we managed to talk about things because I come from, it also was like a slave plantation because there's this place called Colbeck Castle, and it was kind of mysterious place. It's the effigy that is left of what was a castle.
We're going to take a little creative break before we return to our conversation with Veronica, and we're going to hear from a student at Confetti College here in Nottingham. Wezi Jere is aged 22 and has created this musical piece in response to the project. Thank you, Wezi, for that amazing atmospheric piece. I really enjoyed listening to that. So let's now return back to our conversation with Veronica Barnes. So Veronica, I understand that whilst you're part of the Legacy Makers group, that Helen talked to you about putting you forward for another project with an organisation called Non01. So can you tell us a little bit about Put Her Forward?
Well, I didn't know anything about it. All I know is that Helen came one day and said to me that she put my name up for something or another, and I said, like what? Because me, I'm not like to be out there. And she said, some people will come and take your photograph. And I said, ooh, don't like my photograph taken. What are they going to do with it? And she said, well, somebody phoned her from Birmingham to ask her, they needed one person to join their group. I think it's Put Her Forward was the group. She said they would come and take your photos. And I said, oh, I didn't know about that. And then she said the funny thing was, when the woman from Birmingham called her and asked her, she called it Providence. She said, your face just come up to me like that, Veronica. And I knew you were the person.
Yeah.
So she said, that's how I chose you. Because your face, just like when she called me to say, do I know anybody that would want you to?
Yeah.
And she said, she thought about it, and then she said, your face just come up to me like that. And I think, oh, Veronica, let me ask her if she do it. And I said, no, I don't want to do it. She said, I knew you was going to say that, But she said, I already told the people and give them your name. I said, you shouldn't have done that. She said, oh, go on, Veronica. Because I already give them your name. And they're going to come and take your photograph. And they're going to make a little statue of you. I said, a statue? Are you joking? She said, no. But I said, okay. And then that day when they come, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But I brought some clothes in a bag. And these two Asian guys and this white lady came. They were very nice. They found me a nice room. I could change my clothes, put my makeup on and so forth. And titivate up myself a bit, which I didn't put on that makeup, just like a pencil and lipstick, and my head wrap on, and I did look very nice. Although I say it myself.
Yeah.
I did look very nice. One of the guys who really liked me, he said to me, I could not believe it when I see you walk out that room, that you were the same person downstairs, wiping all those dirty books, and all of a sudden, you just appear, look so beautiful and everything. They were teasing me, and I'm going, oh, shy. And then these guys came, and they turned here, turned there, and they say to me, have you done modeling before? I said, why I say that? I said, you're so natural. Turn here, turn there, it's no problem. You just get on with it. And just do. I was more than pleased when they came, sent to tell them at the center like they were coming this day, and could they have a room. Honestly, Rachel, there were about 50 people turned up that day.
So we've discovered, Veronica, that you're quite the community champion, setting up organisations and groups, supporting women. You've been with the Slave Trade Legacies family from the beginning and the forming of the Legacy Makers. And then I came along in lockdown as a volunteer researcher and was just absolutely hooked on the project. And the Legacy Makers group has just been so instrumental with the Standing in This Place project. And I feel very like I've been welcomed into your group. And so to finish off, when we see the sculpture you know, when it's finally made in bronze that we've been all working towards, and you've been creating a braid that's going to be contributed and added to the sculpture. You know, what do you think you're going to feel when you see the finished piece that we've all been working on standing proudly in our city?
I think I'd be really proud to see that. When I saw Mary Seacles' sculpture, I said, I wonder when somebody will do something of the Caribbean woman in sculpture. So I am very proud. And I will be very, very thrilled when I see it in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
wait.
it's amazing. And our journey to there has been a long and hazardous one. And there's still more to be done.
Very much so.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
I think so, yeah. The feedback I get from the legacy makers is, you know, so what are we doing next, Rachel? Where are we going to go now? And so it's amazing that you've all been so open with the research, you know, that huge amount of history that the project's based on. You know, it's been accessible, but you've been such a wonderful group to work with. So I just want to thank you again, Veronica, for being such a wonderful guest.
I want to thank you because, like, Lisa's, I always like to send her something encouraging when I write to her. And, but she kept up whatever side of the Slave Trade Legacy she could do. And also I think she's working at her PhD now, which I wish her every success. I hope she get a distinction for it. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Veronica again for being such a wonderful guest. And if you're interested in finding out more about the work of Bright Ideas Nottingham, about the Slave Trade Legacies project and the Legacy Makers, then head to brightideasnottingham.co.uk to find out more.